Hello everyone and welcome to this new Chess24 video about opening novelties. And after each elite tournament I will try to summarize the best opening novelties with a top 5. So today we are going to talk about the last Norway chess we just finished a few days ago, and saw the victory of the world champion Magnus Carlsen. But let's see who, in my opinion, had the best, the most valuable opening ideas. So let's start with the first game. And the first game is Levon Aronian against Fabiano Caruana. So we'll see the first move. So c4, which is very popular now at the top level. Just this is less forced, of course, than one d4 or one e4, and it's, let's say, you have more chances to have a playable position after the opening. So, and of course, Levon Aronian is a great expert in English. So Fabiano goes for e5 as he did in the World Championship match. Now g3 from Levon, knight f6, knight c3. So let's explain the move order, because he could have. You may wonder why he didn't start with knight c3, knight f6, and then g3. So the point is that after knight c3, Fabiano played a few times bishop b4. Which of course is a very decent move, and so I guess Levon just wanted to avoid that. Of course, here there is more options for black, especially with 2c6, but the bishop is not yet here, and we'll see in the number 3 in my ranking that Magnus Carlsen has white at the game against Dinglia, and after g3, knight f6, bishop g2, c6, which is a very possible idea, of course. But here after c6, the bishop is not yet on g2, and it gives extra options to white, of course. It's possible to go d4 here on knight f3, and okay, it's kind of playable for white. So let's see what Levon did. g3, knight f6, knight c3, bishop b4. So, and e4. So Levon Aronian just repeats what Magnus Carlsen did in the first game of the tiebreak of the World Championship match against Fabiano Caruana. In that game, Fabiano played castle, knight g2, c6, bishop g2, and now the weird I would say a6, because it's a bit too slow. And after castle, b5, d4, very logical, but also very strong. White got a very pleasant position from the opening. So obviously Fabiano didn't repeat this castle. He just took on c3, which is now became the main move. Takes. Of course, it's not possible to take here. I mean, it's possible. White has two options. So queen d5 is slightly better for white. This endgame. Takes. And we have two bishops, so it should be a bit more pleasant for white. But here white has an even stronger move, queen g4, attacking this guy here and this guy here, and it's already a disaster for black. After this, queen h6, and this king, as you can see, is weak. We still have two bishops. It's just a better position for white. So he played d6, and here came the novelty, which is kind of funny, because I will explain why. Queen c2, and this is a reminder of the game Levon Aronian against Magnus Carlsen, but that time Levon was white. So let me show you why. This was a Rossolimo. e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, g6. So you see it's very similar. It's just takes, and now Levon played d3, and Magnus went queen c7 to play with e5 next. And you see it's very similar idea, and probably Levon got inspired by Magnus himself in that game. but one have to mention that in that game Magnus was in great trouble and Levon almost won. At least he achieved a completely winning position. So that's a bit tricky, but it's more of a joke from Levon. Because here Magnus played f3 against Vishy Anand in Baden-Baden and achieved a very good position. After a5, knight h3, so this is the idea. Knight to f2, bishop to e2, and at some point, if possible, f4 or bishop to d3, what he did in the game. a4, knight f2, bishop b6, bishop d3, and now f4 is clearly coming. Knight b7, queen e2, and here Vishy played c6, but after f4, just white is much better. Vishy played knight b6, but after f5, g4. White has much more space and a very pleasant position. Magnus almost won that game. He had a winning position at some point, but at the end Vishy defended very well and saved the game to the draw. So let's see what is the idea of Levon. Now he doesn't want to play knight h3, knight f2 obviously. He wants to play knight f3, knight d2, which is, let's say, the normal setup in Rossolimos, knight f6, d7 in Rossolimos. But this is very similar, of course. Many similar ideas in Rossolimo and in this very special English line. So castle, knight f3, bishop b6. And here Levon played the interesting knight g5, bishop d7, and now f3. Finally, he will come back at some point at h3, knight f2, and try to play the right plan, which is f4. He was probably hoping here for Fabi to play h6, and after h6 he can just play h4. And now it became very, very tricky for black. If you cannot take, because I just take and I will just mate you there. Let's say if you go knight h7, it's just already, you cannot really stop the mate. Knight g5 would end like this. So, and after h4, the point that, okay, let's say black plays some move, a5, and now we have knight h3, and we will play g4 next, and g5, and the problem that black created a weakness here. So you will have to react after g5, and it's very dangerous. This king is very weak, and the center is closed. Very, very difficult for black to achieve c6 and d5. And I think this is a great initiative for white. But Fabiano played, after f3, played f5. I think it's a good move. And after knight h3, so a4, knight f2, knight c6, bishop e2, knight a5, and black achieve a good play on queen side. If next could be queen b8 followed by b5. So I think with this knight f3 g5 maneuver, Levon lost a lot of time actually. So that was an interesting opening ideas, but of course it's only number 5 in my ranking, so I don't think it was kind of fun, but not the best one. So later on Levon went on to lose that game. But we won't see the games till the end. The point of this small video is to see what happened in the opening and early middle game, and to understand. I will try to predict at least what will happen in the next games in the line I'm presenting. So the number 4. Now let's go to the number 4. The number 4 is Ding versus Caruana. Ding as white. So Ding, as usual, or not always, he starts with d4 or c4. So let's see, knight f6, and now he played g3, which is a very tricky move. I analyzed this game for the game of the day in French. Of course, you have this. If you are a French speaker, you can watch this video in French as well on our YouTube French channel. So here Ding decided to play the very not popular at all, G3, 2 G3. So let me explain the idea, why I didn't go knight F3 first. Could have gone for this, G3, but here black has the very good line which I was recommending in some in my game of the day. This is b5 followed by bishop b7 followed by c5, and I think this is very much okay for black. I faced it as white against Grandmaster Mazet, the French captain in many French in many Olympiads and European Championship. He was the captain. Sorry, he was the captain of the French team on many different occasions, and well, he basically managed to have an equal position very quickly, very early on. So after G3, at least we stop this b5, obviously, because the rook would be hanging on a8. So that's a tricky move there from Ding, and very rare, of course. So Fabiano decided to go c5. He probably didn't want a Catalan on that day. So I don't know why, obviously. Maybe he wanted to punish as well, Ding. Knight f3, cd, castle, queen c7, which I think is the first mistake from Fabi, but it's a very normal move here, actually. But I think d5 is a better line for black. Knight takes d4, e5, knight b3, bishop e6, bishop g5, knight b7, and this is supposed to be okay for black, according to opening theory. But let's see, maybe Ding had an idea. So let's see the next game of Ding in that line, because after queen c7, actually, it's very difficult for black. I didn't expect it, but during the live show, the French live show, we couldn't really find a way for black to develop on a decent way, and later on I was analyzing that game, and I still don't see it. So after a6, and now he went for the very strong b3. He wants just to play c4, followed by knight c3, bishop b2, rook c1, and white will get a very pleasant position. So he went d5 to prevent that, but Ding played c4 anyway, which is, I think, a very strong pawn sack. dc4, and here's the novelty by Ding, very logical novelty, but as well very strong, bishop b2. The idea being just to play knight d2, rook c1. If you take here, what he did, just queen b3, and the same, knight d2, rook fc1, maybe rook ab1. This is a lot of development for only one pawn, and you can see this queen on c7 is a target for white. So I think this is just very bad for black. After bishop b2, we couldn't advise anything for black. If bishop e7, just knight d2. If c3, just rook c1, and we'll take back the pawn. We have a very pleasant diagonal here. The pieces, black pieces, are not yet developed, and won't be easy. Won't be a nice time for black, is my guess. So it took here, queen takes b3, knight c6, which is logical. Knight b7 is of course possible, but after rook c1 it's the same story. We don't have a good square for the queen, and we have to lose a lot of tempi. He played knight c6, takes, and now excellent play by Ding, takes, queen c3. And basically black is just busted, because look at the weakness here. I mean, the pawn structure is a disaster, and I just attack here 2 pawns, and you can only protect one. So he played bishop d7, takes, rook g8, knight c3, and this is very pleasant for white. Obviously the king have to stay, cannot castle. Of course, if he would castle later, let's say here, we would just play a move rook b1, and this line is open. So no safe place for the king, for the black king. So this is very difficult, and Ding went on to win that game. So excellent, very creative play from the Chinese player. And now we will see a game from the world champion with my number 3, the current world champion, of course, against Ding himself. Is white, and the world champion went on c4, which is not a novelty in his repertoire, but he's doing it more and more often, so that's always interesting to watch. knight f6, g3, e5, bishop g2, and now c6. The very popular, of course, it's possible to play d5 as well. That would be the main line. But he played c6, now d4, e4. This is the point of black setup. Now the bishop, as I told you for game number 5, the bishop is not really well placed here because black will just play d7, d5, and sometimes this bishop is not really playing, so we would like maybe to have the bishop on f1 and to play e3 and to develop the bishops through this diagonal. So this is supposed to be, this has a very good reputation for black. But Magnus had a small idea. He played queen b3 here, d5, knight c3, which is quite rare. And now, Ding, you cannot bluff Ding. If he sees something he likes, he will just do it. So he just took on c4, queen takes c4, b5, and the idea is to chase the queen and collect this pawn on d4. So queen b3 is the only move basically. Queen takes d4, and now comes the novelty from the world champion. Before, bishop g5 was played, but after bishop f5, rook d1, queen e5, it was very pleasant for black, just knight b7, bishop e7 or bishop c5. But he played bishop e3 with a tempo on the queen. And here there is two moves for black, I think. The first one being queen e5, and I think is better try than what Ding did in the game. After queen e5, bishop f4, takes the queen. Of course, queen d4 is not acceptable, we'll just play rook d1. And it's not at all a repetition, it's just, we just develop all the pieces with tempo. So queen e7 is the move, I think. Bishop g5, pinning the knight, threatening to take here. Bishop f5 basically is the only move. Now we take here, very important, otherwise knight b7 will just protect. If you take here, I will just take here, and the remaining weakness of pawns, of course, if that pawn would be on b7 and protected, that would be a very nice structure for black. But here this pawn is in the semi-open file and will be attacked very easily by white. So this is a very pleasant position for white. And after take on f6, white has a small tactics. Queen c2. Just this bishop is pinned, of course it's not possible to push because the bishop will fall. And now we will take soon on e4. And like in the previous position, the pawn c6 is very weak. The problem for black is that the pawn cannot move backward. So this pawn c6 is basically an eternal weakness, and this is a very hard time for black, especially with his double pawns as well. So maybe that, let's say that I think the best solution for black would be this. Takes, and try to survive in some endgame like that, but it's not really pleasant for black. It's not something I would really recommend to do as black. But so Dings probably saw all of this, and he played queen b4, and here Magnus, I think, played bishop d2, which was a small mistake. And after that, I don't think white has any edge. I think it's about equal. He should have played queen c2, which was a much tougher challenge for black. And I didn't find anything convenient, I would say, for black. I think white is better here. Bishop f5, very logical. We wanted to take. Of course, a3 will come at some point. So bishop f5, just protecting this pawn. In general, if black loses this e4 pawn, the position becomes very, very difficult for him. And knight h3, it's maybe the move that missed Magnus, just a normal developing move. Of course, during the live show, we were checking this kind of stuff. Knight f3, which is very interesting. Want to come here. Here, of course, it's emprise. Takes, some check here. King e7, queen b7, maybe king e6, and we couldn't make it work for white. And I think it just simply doesn't work. But knight h3 is a very simple and very strong move. After bishop e7, which is a logical developing move, black wants to castle. White just go a3. And now two options for black. So the first one being queen a5, then we just castle. Now we cannot take here immediately because takes takes, and this knight on h3 would be hanging. So after we have to play here knight f4, and the problem for black that it's just impossible to protect the pawn on e4. So that makes the black position very difficult. So after a3, queen c4 was another option. b3 we would win another tempo. Sorry. Queen e6, knight g5, queen e5, everything with tempo. Bishop f4 attacking the queen. e3 some intermezzo move. No other options. Queen d4 just rook d1, and it's a very good initiative for white. e3 take on e5, take on c2, and now f4 I think is a very good move. Just threatening to take here. Of course it was as well possible, but just take. It becomes rather messy if king takes knight g4. So it's better to avoid all that and to play f4, and the threat is here. It's not easy for black to prevent it. Of course this pawn will be lost at some point. Bishop d4, e3 is always an option. Knight d1, knight e3 is an option. Look at these bishops, these white bishops, very strong, just very active. So this is more than enough compensation. I believe white is better. So in that game, it's black who will have to, in that opening, to be more precise, it's black who will have to come with some new idea to save the day. So let's see now the number 2. The number 2 is, like the number 1, is some opening idea from Vishy Anand. And as we can see, I mean the 5-time world champion Vishy Anand is just as creative as ever. He's 50 years old, and it's very impressive to see this love for the game he still has, and he's always working a lot on his openings, and he's still bringing the best ideas. And I think in this tournament, the top 2, he deserves to be number 1 and number 2. So let's see the number 2 against Ding Liren. e4, e5, knight f3, knight e6, bishop c4. Vishy is very much into Italian these days. Bishop c4, knight f6, d3, bishop c5. All of this is very normal and standard. c3, d6, h3, a5, which is typical Ding. He likes to do this a5 setup, even if against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, my countryman, he played a6 later on, and that might be because of that game. So it changed, which is very rare for Ding. Rook e1, all of this is very normal. h6, knight b2, bishop b6, bishop b5. Queen b8, which is typical idea, just the queen wants to come here. It will attack on f2 and trying to prevent white to play d4 here. Giri against Ding in Shenzhen 2019 tried to play take on c6, takes, d4, ed4, cd4, bishop b4, but it was not much for white, to be honest. Takes, and it was a draw at the end. So Ding was, I guess, ready to repeat that line. Not too afraid of Anish idea. Queen b8, knight f1. I played that position actually as white. After queen a7, I played the very popular bishop e3. But after takes, knight e7, followed by knight g6, c6, sometimes queen b6. I must admit it's really not much, if anything, for white. So Vishy Anand came up with this nice idea, which was never played, which is very logical, but never tried. Takes on d4, bishop takes e6, intermezzo, of course, if takes, just knight takes, bishop takes. We lost the pawn. This cannot be good. Bishop takes e6, and now it becomes very sharp. Of course, if black takes here, we just take, bishop b4, and rook e2, threatening a3, should be better for white. So after d takes c3, now it's a complete mess. Black took 2 pawns, but lost a piece. f2 is hanging, so it's a very sharp stuff. So I played bishop a4. Sorry, no, not me. Vishy Anand played bishop a4, which is very logical. Bishop f2, king h2, and here I think black should have taken only one. Takes, of course, this is way too dangerous and way too greedy, just bishop takes. Now look at this bishop might come here, attacking the king. This knight is on the attack, the queen can come here, the knight can come here and here, or here and here. This is way too dangerous, you cannot play like that as black. And the queen, obviously, is very far from the action, so this is not possible. After queen takes e1, d5, I think, which is basically the only move. Bishop e3 with the tempo on the queen, very logical. Queen a6, e5, knight e4, take on c3, and this is a very sharp position. I tend to prefer white here, but I'm really not sure. Queen c4, bishop b3, take on c3, knight 1, d2. It's very sharp. Black has 3 pawns here for 3 pawns and a rook against 2 minor pieces, which is supposed to be favorable for black, but white has some initiative. Rook c1 can come, queen g3 later, of course, when this knight will be exchanged. So very sharp, and I guess we'll see more example of that in that line. So Ding after d5 played after king h2, sorry, 15 king h2, he played d5, e5, knight e4, and here I think Ding Vishy Anand, sorry, should have played just a very simple rook e2, protecting. And I think black has to find some counterplay, f6, and now white has a tactical shot, a very nice tactical shot, bishop b3, which is maybe what Vishy missed. That this attack here, and also threatening here, because this bishop is hanging after f6, he was left without protection. So I think after rook e2, white has an edge. So he played bishop e3, and then it became very messy. c5, bishop f2 takes, queen c2 takes on b2. Of course here I think he played rook ab1 Vishy, which I think it was a mistake, and later the game ended in a draw after many complications, and it was hard to say who was fighting for what. But white was not better, I believe. He should have taken here, knight d3, fork, queen d2, knight e1, rook e1. We have this material balance which we saw previously, these two knights against rook and 3 pawns. But as you can see, look at this. These pieces, they are all looking, they are potentially all looking on the black king direction. So this is very tricky position. d4, knight g3, queen b6, bishop c2. I don't know, I would prefer to play as white here, because it's the king is not really safe here, but that's interesting position, and Vishy could have gotten much better version than this. So let's see now the number 1 of this opening novelties, and now Vishy is black against Alexander Grichuk, and this is a line I know very well. I looked at that line something like 10 years ago. I even played it as black against my countryman Etienne Bacro in Bundesliga. It was in 2009, so very long time already. I remember back in the days when I was working with Vladimir Kramnik, we were checking this line of open Spanish. Vladimir Kramnik had a game there as well. So knight f6, castle, this is open Spanish. Okay, this is all very well known. c3, d4, takes here, takes on d4. This is all very standard. a4. Here, Mamedov recently played in Waikanze against Vladimir Kramnik himself, who is playing this line as white now. Okay, not anymore, because he just retired from chess. But in his last professional tournament, he played this line as white. And after bishop c5, knight e4, bishop b6, knight fg5. And this is very sharp, but white, this has very bad reputation for black, and white is supposed to get some initiative. So maybe further developments will be seen there, but apparently Gechuk was ready to face this line, and Vishy, in his preparation, preferred the much more rare bishop b4, which I played myself, so we'll see. Takes on b5. It's not possible to take back for black after a b5. Take on a8, queen a8, knight takes d4, knight takes d4. It's very forced, and now the very simple queen g4 attacking this knight on d4, this pawn g7. It's not possible to protect both. If you protect both by knight e6, then the bishop would fall. So this is simply losing actually for black. So after a b5, knight f3 is the only move. Takes, rook a8, queen a8. If you give one more move to black, yeah, I would just castle or play bishop e7, and it's very much fine for black. Even black could take over at some point. So knight g5 is kind of the only move. You have to be fast as white, because black is completely fine, so you have to play for dynamism. And here I tried against Etienne bishop e7, but Bacro played very well here. He took, takes, queen g4, king f7. He played queen f4 check. I think he had even a better move than that, which I will show later. But after king e8, bishop e3, it was rather unpleasant, because rook c1 is coming. My king is still in the center, so of course I will try to play rook f8, king f7, king g8. But all of that is very slow, and it's always slightly worse and very unpleasant to defend. So I decided to give up on that line, because it was just too sad, to be honest. But after king f7, I think bishop g5 is even stronger. With the idea, if you take on g5, I give this small intermezzo, check. You have to play g6. I just take here and look at your dark square around the king. It's very weak. So bishop g5, I think, is a nice idea, and it's very difficult for black to play this position. So Vishy didn't play bishop e7 and went for knight takes g5, which was a novelty actually in that game. So I think this is very obvious, but not an easy one. Bishop g5, h6, and now of course it's not possible to play castle, because just very simple, queen g4, attacking this bishop. If you protect this bishop, whatever, or move it, bishop c5, just bishop h6, very simple. Simple chess, attacking here, threatening mate, and we win the exchange and the game later on. This is completely winning for white. So that's the only problem for black, that you cannot castle, but it's quite a huge problem. So after h6, here Sasha Gechuk, I think there is two moves for white, two critical moves. The one Sasha Gechuk played, which is e6. And this is okay for black, but I think in the future, if we see some more games in that line, I think white will try bishop h4. I think Vishy idea is to play g5. After here, it's possible, if bishop g3, we'll just play queen c6. We are threatening to castle, as simple as that. Of course, it was a bit too scary to castle immediately because of queen h5 and f4, or queen g4 and h4. This looks very tricky, attacking this bishop. So first, some move protecting here, also stopping some queen c2. Very useful move to centralize the queen. And after f4, which is very logical, takes, we just play rook g8, threatening mate. And after queen e2, preventing it, just rook g6, I think king f8, king g8, and I think it's quite fine for black. It's very acceptable. But after bishop h4, g5, e6 is very critical in my opinion, threatening of course mate in 2. And if you take on e6 like Vishy did in the game, but after e6 without g5, without the pawn g5, against 19 e6 immediately, So if you take on e6 here, it's just simply very bad. Queen h5 check is very good for white. If you go to f8, I just take here. This is pinned. You cannot take here. If you go king e7, then I have the nice trick. I will just take here. You have to take. I will take here. If you go here or here, I will just give a check on f4 and collect this bishop, and I want a pawn. If you go on e8 or on d7, I just take on b5. I take one more pawn. I will take this bishop, and I will be 2 pawns up. And if you play king d6, the same. I can just go queen f4. I will collect this bishop, of course. King c5 is not acceptable. You just can play rook c1 or even queen takes e7 check. I think it will be made in a few moves. So after e6, I think the only move is to play castle. Very cold-blooded, and you have to, of course, you have to know such, because this is such a difficult move to make in a practical game. So white would play bishop g3, of course. Take on f7 would just help black, and we'll have a very decent position. So rook is now very active. Bishop g3, queen c6, very good move, protecting here and forcing white to take if they don't want to lose a pawn. Takes, h4, which makes a lot of sense, because of course these pawns and this king, especially behind the pawns, is very vulnerable. But I think after bishop f8, followed by bishop g7, black position is very acceptable, and due to the very limited material, I think it's just very difficult for white to prove a real edge. So I think this is really was Vishy's idea. So after h6, e6, here Vishy could just take on e6. Of course, now castle doesn't work at all. At the very least, we can take here. After takes, we can play queen g4, and it's just very bad for black. Look at these pawns. This is disaster. We can just take here, we are pawn up, and a better pawn structure. Not 100% sure it's winning, but it's going to be a very tough defense for black. That's for sure. So he just took on e6 quite quickly. He knew, of course, all the details. Vishy introduced this new idea, king f8, bishop f4, now the very precise queen d5, offering a queen trade. If takes, sorry, takes king f7 followed by rook c8, and this is almost better for black here. So of course Sasha played queen e2, and now the last precise move, bishop d6, with the idea after rook d1 you just go queen c4, massive liquidation, and a very easy draw for black, even if white is as a symbolic advantage. It's not even close to create any troubles for black. Takes here, king e7, the last precise move, rook c6 would be here, and as you can see, takes, and here the players agree to draw very soon, because of course this is a small weakness, but even if we lose that pawn, it's still a dead draw, so that's not something Sasha Gechuk is going to try to win against a player like Vishy Anand, obviously. So as we could see, very nice idea of Vishy in the open Spanish, and I'm sure we'll see more of that very soon. And I will continue this video series. I hope you enjoyed it, and this top 5 of opening novelties of each elite tournament. I will do a video series, so stay tuned, and thanks a lot for watching.